The old Honda Civic made a small coughing sound as Lisa turned into the parking lot of Riverside Academy. She looked at herself one more time in the rearview mirror, smoothing down her simple black dress that she had bought 3 years ago from Target. It was clean and pressed, but she couldn't help feeling nervous as she saw the row of luxury cars already parked outside the school. "Mom, you look beautiful," her 8-year-old daughter Amy said from the back seat, giving her an encouraging smile. Lisa's heart melted. This little girl was the reason she worked so hard every day. Amy was smart, kind, and deserved every opportunity in the world. That's why Lisa had made so many sacrifices to send her to this private school, even though it meant working extra shifts at the local library and eating packed lunches every day. "Thank you, sweetheart. You be good with Mrs. Johnson tonight, okay? I'll pick you up from her house after the school event." Amy nodded and hugged her mom tight before getting out to go to the babysitter's car that was waiting nearby. Lisa took a deep breath and walked toward the school entrance. The autumn evening was crisp, and the school building looked magnificent with warm lights glowing from every window. Riverside Academy was known throughout the city as the best private school money could buy. The building itself looked like something from a movie, with its brick walls covered in ivy and tall windows that sparkled in the evening light. As she approached the main entrance, Lisa could hear the sound of laughter and conversation drifting from inside. She checked her small purse one more time, making sure she had her wallet with the $200 she had saved specifically for tonight's charity auction. It wasn't much compared to what other parents probably brought, but it was what she could afford. The moment she stepped inside, Lisa felt like she had entered a different world. The school's main hall had been transformed into an elegant party venue. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, casting a warm glow over everything. Round tables covered with white tablecloths were scattered around the room, each decorated with beautiful flower arrangements. A small band played soft jazz music in one corner, while waiters in black suits moved gracefully between the guests, offering glasses of wine and fancy appetizers on silver trays. But what struck Lisa most was the people. Every woman in the room looked like she had stepped out of a fashion magazine. They wore designer dresses that probably cost more than Lisa's monthly salary, carried handbags that could have paid her rent, and wore jewelry that sparkled under the lights. The men were equally well-dressed in expensive suits and shiny shoes. Lisa smoothed her dress again and tried to walk confidently toward the registration table. The volunteer behind the table, a woman with perfectly styled blonde hair, looked up with a bright smile that seemed to freeze slightly when she saw Lisa. "Oh, hello there. Are you here for the gala?" the woman asked, her eyes quickly scanning Lisa's appearance. "Yes, I'm Amy Chen's mother, Lisa Chen." The woman flipped through the pages of names, her manicured fingernails clicking against the paper. "Ah, yes, here you are. Your table number is 12. Lisa thanked her and made her way through the crowd, trying to find her assigned table. As she walked, she couldn't help but notice the conversations happening around her. Women were discussing their recent trips to Europe, their new cars, and their plans to renovate their vacation homes. She heard mentions of personal trainers, private chefs, and nannies who spoke 3 languages. Table 12 was near the back of the room, and Lisa was relieved to see that not everyone there looked as intimidating as the women near the entrance. She introduced herself to the other parents and learned that most of them were also newcomers to the school. They seemed friendly enough, and Lisa began to relax a little. The evening started with a speech from the school principal about the importance of their annual fundraising gala. He explained that the money raised would go toward new computer equipment, library books, and scholarships for deserving students who couldn't otherwise afford to attend Riverside Academy. After the speech, the auction began. Lisa watched in amazement as parents bid thousands of dollars on vacation packages, art pieces, and exclusive experiences. A week in a luxury cabin went for $8,000. A private dinner with a celebrity chef sold for $12,000. The numbers being called out were more than Lisa made in several months. When smaller items came up for auction, Lisa tried to participate. She bid $50 on a gift basket filled with local products, but was quickly outbid by someone who raised it to $200. She tried again on a set of children's books, bidding $75, but again was outbid within seconds. During a break in the auction, Lisa decided to visit the ladies' room, As she walked through the hallway, she overheard a group of women talking near the silent auction tables. "Did you see that woman at table 12, the one in the black dress?" one of them was saying. "Oh yes, I noticed her right away. That dress looks like it came from a discount store," another replied with a laugh. "I wonder how she even affords the tuition here. Maybe she's on some kind of financial aid program." Lisa's cheeks burned with embarrassment, but she tried to ignore the comments and continued to the restroom. When she returned, she decided to look at the silent auction items. These were smaller donations that people could bid on by writing their names and bid amounts on paper forms. She found a few items she could afford and wrote down modest bids. A homemade quilt made by the art teacher's mother caught her eye, and she bid $60. There was also a basket of books donated by the local bookstore where she sometimes shopped, and she bid $40 on that. As she was writing down her bid, she heard footsteps behind her. "How sweet," came a voice dripping with false kindness. Lisa turned to see a tall woman with auburn hair styled in perfect waves, wearing a dress that probably cost more than Lisa's car. Behind her stood two other women, both dressed equally expensively and wearing matching expressions of barely concealed amusement. "I'm sorry?" Lisa asked politely. "Oh, nothing at all. It's just nice to see everyone participating regardless of their circumstances," the auburn-haired woman said, her eyes moving up and down Lisa's outfit with obvious judgment. One of the other women giggled. "Patricia, be nice. Not everyone can afford to bid on the bigger items." Patricia smiled, but it wasn't a warm smile. "Of course not. We should all give what we can, shouldn't we? Even if it's just a few dollars here and there." Lisa felt her face growing hot, but she kept her voice calm. "I think every donation helps the children, don't you?" "Absolutely," Patricia agreed, though her tone suggested otherwise. "It's just that some of us take these fundraising events more seriously. My husband and I have already committed to donating $50,000 tonight, plus whatever we win in the auction. But of course, not everyone is in a position to make that kind of contribution." The other women nodded in agreement, and Lisa could see other parents nearby starting to listen to the conversation. She felt like she was being put on display, examined, and found lacking by these women who seemed to think their wealth made them better than everyone else. "Well, I should get back to my table," Lisa said quietly, trying to end the uncomfortable encounter. "Of course, dear. Enjoy the rest of your evening," Patricia said with that same false smile. As Lisa walked away, she could hear them start to whisper among themselves again, and she had a sinking feeling that she was still the topic of their conversation. Lisa returned to her table, trying to shake off the uncomfortable feeling from her encounter with Patricia and her friends. The auction was continuing, and she watched as more expensive items were sold to eager bidders. A weekend spa package went for $3,000. A private wine tasting experience sold for $4,500. She tried to focus on the positive aspects of the evening. After all, this was all for the children's benefit. Amy loved this school, and her teachers always spoke highly of her progress. That's what really mattered. During the next break, Lisa decided to get some fresh air. She stepped out onto the school's outdoor terrace, which overlooked the beautifully landscaped gardens. The cool evening breeze felt good against her warm cheeks. She pulled out her phone to check if Amy's babysitter had sent any updates, and smiled when she saw a photo of Amy doing her homework with a big grin on her face. Taking a break from all the excitement, Lisa turned to see a woman about her age approaching. Unlike the others she had met tonight, this woman had a genuinely warm smile and wore a simple but elegant navy blue dress. "Yes, it's quite overwhelming in there," Lisa admitted. "I'm Rebecca," the woman said, extending her hand. "My son is in 3rd grade here." "Lisa, my daughter Amy is in 2nd grade. Oh, Amy Chen. My son Kevin talks about her all the time. He says she's the smartest girl in their reading group." Lisa's face lit up. "Really? Amy hasn't mentioned Kevin, but she's sometimes shy about making new friends. Kevin is the same way. Maybe we could arrange a play date sometime?" For the first time all evening, Lisa felt genuinely comfortable talking to another parent. Rebecca seemed down to earth and kind, unlike the group she had encountered earlier. "I'd love that," Lisa said. It's been hard for Amy to adjust to a new school, especially one where many of the kids have known each other since kindergarten. I completely understand. We moved here 2 years ago, and it took time to find our place. Some of the parents here can be challenging. Before Lisa could respond, Patricia's voice carried over from the doorway. Rebecca, there you are. We've been looking for you. The silent auction is about to close, and we wanted to see if you were interested in joining our group bid on the European vacation package. Rebecca's expression shifted slightly, becoming more guarded. I appreciate the offer, Patricia, but I think I'll stick with my individual bids. Patricia's eyes then fell on Lisa, and her smile became that familiar fake one again. Oh, and here's our new friend again. How are you enjoying the evening, dear? It's been very nice, thank you, Lisa replied politely. I was just telling the other ladies about our conversation earlier. It's so refreshing to meet parents who are so practical about their contributions. Patricia's tone made it clear that practical was not meant as a compliment. Lisa felt her stomach tighten, but before she could respond, Patricia continued. You know, I was looking at the silent auction bids, and I couldn't help but notice your name on a few items. How thoughtful of you to participate, even with your budget considerations. Rebecca frowned. I'm sure everyone is contributing what they can, Patricia. Oh, absolutely, Patricia said, her voice getting louder as a few other parents began to gather around. That's exactly my point. We should all appreciate different levels of participation. For instance, Lisa here bid $60 on that lovely quilt. It's wonderful that she's involved, even if it's on a smaller scale. Lisa's cheeks burned. She could see other parents looking in their direction, some with curiosity, others with barely concealed amusement. Patricia was making a public spectacle of her modest bids, and Lisa realized this was intentional. Patricia, I don't think this is necessary, Rebecca said firmly. Oh, but it is, Patricia insisted, her voice carrying across the terrace. We need to recognize all forms of contribution. Lisa works at the library, don't you, dear? It must be challenging to afford a school, like Riverside on a librarian's salary. I imagine every dollar counts. More parents had gathered now, drawn by Patricia's increasingly loud voice. Lisa felt trapped, like an animal being examined by a crowd at the zoo. She wanted to leave, but she also didn't want to give Patricia the satisfaction of driving her away. Actually, Lisa said, finding her voice, I think it's wonderful that this school brings together families from different backgrounds. That's what makes it special. Oh, absolutely, Patricia agreed, though her tone remained condescending. Diversity is so important. Economic diversity, social diversity. It's all valuable. Though I do sometimes wonder if some families truly understand the level of commitment expected at a school like this. One of Patricia's friends, a woman with short blonde hair and expensive jewelry, chimed in. What Patricia means is that this school has certain standards, not just academic standards, but social ones too. The fundraising events, the parent committees, the social obligation, it can be quite demanding. And expensive, added another woman with a laugh. Between the donations, the auction items, and all the extra activities, it can add up quickly. Lisa felt the circle of women closing in around her, their words designed to make her feel small and out of place. She could see Rebecca looking uncomfortable, but even she seemed unsure of how to intervene. I understand that everyone here wants what's best for their children, Lisa said, trying to keep her voice steady. That's why I work so hard to give my daughter this opportunity. Of course you do, dear, Patricia said with false sympathy. And we admire your dedication. It's just that sometimes parents don't realize all the expectations that come with being part of the Riverside community. Beyond just paying tuition, there are social responsibilities, volunteer commitments, donation expectations. Are you suggesting that I don't belong here? Lisa asked directly, tired of the veiled insults. Patricia's eyes widened with mock surprise. Oh my goodness, no, I would never suggest such a thing. I'm simply saying that this school requires a certain level of involvement that not everyone is prepared for. The crowd of parents had grown larger, and Lisa could feel all their eyes on her. Some looked sympathetic, but others seemed to be enjoying the drama. She realized that Patricia had orchestrated this entire scene, turning her into entertainment for the evening. Perhaps, Patricia continued, her voice now carrying to everyone on the terrace. Some families might be more comfortable at schools that are more accommodating to different financial situations. There are some excellent public schools in the area. The suggestion hung in the air like a challenge. Patricia was essentially telling Lisa that she didn't belong at Riverside Academy, that she should take her daughter and leave. Lisa looked around at the faces surrounding her. Some showed embarrassment at Patricia's behavior, but none of them spoke up to defend her. Even Rebecca, who had been kind earlier, remained silent. "My daughter loves this school," Lisa said quietly, "and she's doing well here. That's all that matters to me." "Of course it is," Patricia replied. "But sometimes we need to consider what's best for everyone involved. The school has a reputation to maintain, and the other families have certain expectations about the community they're joining." Lisa felt tears threatening to form in her eyes, but she refused to give Patricia the satisfaction of seeing her cry. She had worked too hard and sacrificed too much to be intimidated by these women who thought their money made them better than everyone else. "If you'll excuse me," Lisa said with as much dignity as she could manage, "I think I'll go check on the auction results." As she walked away, she could hear the whispered conversation starting behind her, and she knew that her name would be the topic of discussion for the rest of the evening. Lisa walked back into the main hall, her hands slightly shaking as she tried to compose herself. The auction was winding down and people were gathering around the silent auction tables to see the final results. She made her way over, hoping to blend into the crowd and avoid any more confrontations. As she approached the tables, she could hear excited chatter about who had won which items. Some parents were congratulating each other on their successful bids, while others were good-naturedly complaining about being outbid at the last minute. Lisa found the table where she had placed her bids and scanned the sheets. Her heart sank a little when she saw that her bid on the book basket had been beaten by someone who bid $200, but then she smiled when she noticed that her $60 bid on the handmade quilt was still the highest. At least she would win something tonight. "Congratulations on the quilt," came a voice behind her. Lisa turned to see Rebecca approaching with a genuine smile. "Thank you. I'm excited about it. My daughter will love the colors." Patricia's behavior out there was completely inappropriate, Rebecca said quietly. "I want you to know that not all of us feel that way." Lisa appreciated Rebecca's kindness, but before she could respond, she heard Patricia's distinctive laugh echoing from across the room. She looked over to see Patricia surrounded by her usual group, and they all seemed to be looking at something on Patricia's phone. "Oh my goodness, this is perfect," Patricia was saying loudly enough for nearby parents to hear. "The lighting really captures everything." Lisa's stomach dropped as she realized what was happening. During their confrontation on the terrace, someone had been taking photos or videos. Her worst fears were confirmed when she saw Patricia holding up her phone, showing the screen to the other women. "Social media can be so useful for documenting special events," Patricia announced to anyone within earshot. "It's important to capture all the memorable moments from our school gatherings." Rebecca grabbed Lisa's arm gently. "Come on, let's go somewhere else." But it was too late. Other parents were now pulling out their phones, and Lisa could see the notification lights blinking as Patricia shared whatever she had captured. The modern nightmare of viral humiliation was beginning right before her eyes. "I think I should probably leave," Lisa whispered to Rebecca. "Don't let her drive you away," Rebecca urged. That's exactly what she wants. But Lisa could already see the damage spreading. Parents were huddled in small groups, looking at their phones and then glancing in her direction. Some tried to be discreet about it, but others weren't even bothering to hide their interest in the drama. Patricia's voice carried across the room again. "It's so important to maintain standards in our school community. Some people just don't understand what's expected at an institution like Riverside Academy." Lisa felt her cheeks burning with embarrassment and anger. She had tried to handle the situation with grace, but Patricia seemed determined to humiliate her as publicly as possible. "You know what?" Lisa said to Rebecca, her voice stronger than she felt. "I'm not going to let her win." Lisa walked directly toward Patricia's group, her heart pounding but her resolve firm. The conversations around her gradually quieted as people sensed another confrontation brewing. "Patricia," Lisa said clearly, "I'd like to speak with you." Patricia looked up from her phone with that familiar fake smile. "Of course, dear. What can I do for you?" "I'd appreciate it if you would delete whatever photos or videos you took of our conversation outside." "Photos?" Patricia said innocently. "I'm not sure what you mean. I was simply sharing some lovely shots of the school's beautiful terrace with my friends." "We both know that's not true," Lisa said firmly. "You were recording our conversation and now you're sharing it with other parents." The crowd around them was growing larger, and Lisa could feel all eyes on her. But she had reached her breaking point. She was tired of being treated like she didn't belong, tired of being made to feel ashamed for working hard to give her daughter opportunities. "I think there's been a misunderstanding," Patricia said, her voice taking on a sharper edge. "I'm simply documenting tonight's event for the school's social media pages. As head of the Parent Communication Committee, it's part of my responsibility." "Your responsibility is to support all the families in this school community," Lisa replied, "not to embarrass parents who don't meet your personal standards." One of Patricia's friends, a tall woman with perfectly styled dark hair, stepped forward. "I think you're being a bit dramatic. Patricia was simply trying to help you understand the expectations here. By publicly questioning whether I belong here, by sharing photos to mock my contributions." Lisa's voice was getting stronger with each word. "That's not helping. That's bullying." A murmur went through the crowd. The word bullying seemed to hit a nerve with many of the parents, perhaps because they had been so focused on preventing bullying among their children that they hadn't noticed it happening among themselves. Patricia's expression hardened. "I think you're misinterpreting my intentions. I've been nothing but welcoming to you tonight." "Welcoming?" Lisa almost laughed. "You've spent the entire evening making comments about my dress, my job, my financial situation, and my ability to afford this school. You've suggested I should leave and find a more suitable school for families like mine. How is any of that welcoming?" Now the crowd was really listening, and Lisa could see some uncomfortable expressions on people's faces. Perhaps they were recognizing their own behavior in her description, or maybe they were just realizing how cruel Patricia had been. "I think you're being overly sensitive," Patricia said, but her voice had lost some of its confidence. "This is a social event and these things happen in conversation." "No," Lisa said firmly. "Asking about someone's work is conversation. Making fun of their clothes is conversation. What you've been doing is intentionally trying to make me feel unwelcome and embarrassed." A man Lisa didn't recognize stepped forward from the crowd. "Actually, I think Patricia does have a point about maintaining standards," he said. "This school has a certain reputation, and we all have to contribute to maintaining that." Lisa turned to look at him. "And what standards would those be? Because I thought the standards here were about providing excellent education for children, not about how much money their parents make or what designer clothes they wear." "Well, there are financial commitments that come with being part of this community," the man continued. "The fundraising expectations, the social obligations. I've met every financial obligation required by this school," Lisa said clearly. "I pay my daughter's tuition on time every month. I volunteer in her classroom when I can. I attend school events and support the programs. What more is required?" Patricia seized the opening. "It's not just about meeting minimum requirements. It's about being able to fully participate in the community. The fundraising events, the social gatherings, the volunteer committees, they all require a certain level of commitment that not everyone can maintain." "Are you saying that parents who work full-time jobs can't fully participate?" Lisa asked. "Because that would exclude most of the families in this country." "I'm saying that some families are better positioned to take advantage of what Riverside Academy offers," Patricia replied. "And some might find a better fit elsewhere." The suggestion was clear, and now it was being made in front of a large crowd of parents. Patricia was essentially telling Lisa to take her daughter and leave. Lisa looked around at the faces surrounding her. Some looked uncomfortable with the direction the conversation had taken. Others seemed to be waiting to see how she would respond. A few appeared to agree with Patricia's assessment. "My daughter has every right to be here," Lisa said with quiet dignity. "She's earned her place through her hard work and intelligence just like every other child in this school. And I have every right to be here too, supporting her education." The words hung in the air, and Lisa realized that this moment would define not just her evening, but possibly her entire relationship with this school community. The tension in the room was thick as Lisa stood her ground, facing Patricia and the growing crowd of parents. Some people looked uncomfortable with the confrontation, while others seemed to be enjoying the drama. Lisa could feel her heart pounding, but she refused to back down. "I think this conversation has gone far enough," said Mr. Peterson, the school principal, as he approached the group. His voice carried authority, and several parents stepped back to make room for him. "Perhaps we should focus on celebrating tonight's successful fundraising efforts." But Patricia wasn't ready to let the matter drop. "Of course, Mr. Peterson. We were just discussing community standards and expectations. It's important that all families understand what's involved in being part of Riverside Academy." Lisa opened her mouth to respond, but before she could speak, she heard the sound of car doors slamming outside. Through the large windows, she could see several black SUVs pulling into the parking lot. The vehicles looked official and expensive, not like the typical cars parents drove to school events. Mr. Peterson glanced toward the windows and his expression changed completely. His eyes widened, and he suddenly looked nervous and excited at the same time. "Excuse me for just one moment," he said quickly, practically jogging toward the main entrance. The crowd turned to look outside, curious about what had caught the principal's attention. Patricia and her friends craned their necks to see what was happening, temporarily distracted from their confrontation with Lisa. Through the glass doors, they could see Mr. Peterson greeting someone outside, but the evening shadows made it difficult to see clearly. The principal was shaking hands enthusiastically with a tall figure, bowing slightly in a way that suggested he was meeting someone very important. "I wonder who that could be," Rebecca whispered to Lisa. "Mr. Peterson looks like he's meeting a celebrity or something." Lisa shrugged, grateful for the distraction from her public humiliation. "Maybe it's a major donor or school board member." The conversations in the hall had shifted from Lisa's situation to speculation about the mysterious arrival. Parents were whispering among themselves, trying to guess who could have prompted such a reaction from their normally composed principal. "It's probably someone from the district office," suggested one parent. "No, look at those cars. That's not government vehicles, those are private security SUVs," said another. Patricia, never one to miss out on important social information, moved closer to the windows. "Those are definitely luxury vehicles with professional drivers. Whoever it is has serious money." As they watched, more figures emerged from the SUVs. They appeared to be security personnel, dressed in dark suits and moving with the practiced efficiency of professional bodyguards. This only increased the crowd's curiosity. "This is getting interesting," whispered one of Patricia's friends. "Someone very important must be arriving." Mr. Peterson was still outside, engaged in animated conversation with the mysterious visitor. Even from a distance, it was clear that he was treating this person with exceptional respect and deference. Lisa found herself caught up in the mystery despite her earlier distress. The arrival had completely changed the atmosphere in the room, shifting everyone's attention away from social drama to this unexpected development. "Do you think it could be a government official?" Rebecca asked quietly. "Or maybe a major celebrity," suggested another parent. "Rich families sometimes hire celebrities to attend their private events." Patricia was practically pressed against the window now, trying to get a better view. "I can't see clearly from here, but whoever it is, they're definitely someone significant. Mr. Peterson looks like he's about to faint from excitement." The security personnel had taken positions around the entrance, and one of them was speaking into a small device, clearly coordinating something. Their professional demeanor suggested this was routine for them, which meant their employer was accustomed to this level of security. "Maybe it's a business tycoon," speculated one of the fathers, "someone considering a major donation to the school. Or it could be a politician," added another parent. Election season is coming up and private school events are popular spots for fundraising. Lisa watched the scene unfold with growing curiosity. The mysterious arrival had completely transformed the evening's energy. Parents who had been focused on gossip and social positioning were now united in their speculation about who could be important enough to warrant such an entrance. Mr. Peterson finally began walking back toward the building, accompanied by a tall figure whose face was still obscured by shadows and the angle of the lighting. The principal was walking slightly behind and to the side, a position that clearly indicated deference to his companion. "Here they come," Patricia announced unnecessarily, as everyone in the hall was already watching the entrance. The security team moved with practiced precision, one of them stepping ahead to open the door while others maintained their positions outside. It was clear that whoever was arriving was accustomed to this level of professional protection and service. As they approached the glass doors, Lisa could make out more details about the mysterious visitor. He was tall and well-dressed, wearing what appeared to be an expensive, perfectly tailored suit. His posture suggested confidence and authority, someone comfortable being the center of attention. "He definitely looks important," Rebecca murmured. "Look at how Mr. Peterson is practically bowing to him." The principal was indeed showing unusual deference, gesturing enthusiastically as he spoke and clearly trying to make a good impression on his distinguished guest. Patricia had moved even closer to the entrance, positioning herself where she would be among the first to greet whoever was arriving. Her earlier confrontation with Lisa seemed completely forgotten as she focused on this new social opportunity. "I wonder if he's someone I should know," Patricia was saying to her friends. "If he's this important, we should definitely introduce ourselves." Other parents were having similar thoughts, and Lisa could see them straightening their clothes and checking their appearance, preparing to make a good impression on the mysterious VIP. The atmosphere in the room had completely changed. What had been a typical school fundraising event with its social dramas and petty conflicts had suddenly become something much more significant. Everyone sensed that they were about to meet someone truly important. Mr. Peterson reached the door, first holding it open with exaggerated courtesy. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced to the room, his voice carrying a mixture of excitement and nervousness, "we have a very special visitor joining us tonight." The hall fell silent as everyone turned to face the entrance. Even the background music seemed to fade as all attention focused on the doorway. The tall figure stepped through the entrance, and for the first time, the lighting allowed everyone to see him clearly. He was indeed impressive looking, with sharp, intelligent eyes that scanned the room with quiet confidence. His suit was clearly expensive, and everything about his bearing suggested wealth and power. But what struck Lisa most was something familiar about his presence. There was something in the way he moved, the way he held himself, that tugged at her memory. She couldn't quite place it, but there was definitely something recognizable about this man. Mr. Peterson was practically beaming with excitement as he prepared to introduce his distinguished guest to the assembled parents. Patricia and her friends had positioned themselves prominently near the entrance, ready to make their introductions and establish their social connections. The mysterious visitor's eyes continued to scan the room, as if he was looking for someone specific among the crowd of elegantly dressed parents. His gaze moved methodically across the faces, searching. Lisa felt a strange flutter in her stomach as those intelligent eyes continued their survey of the room. For reasons she couldn't explain, she had the oddest feeling that this unexpected arrival was somehow connected to her, though she couldn't imagine how that could possibly be true. The mysterious visitor continued scanning the room, his eyes moving from face to face with quiet intensity. Lisa felt her breath catch as his gaze swept past her, then returned. Their eyes met across the crowded hall, and suddenly, his serious expression transformed into a warm, genuine smile. To Lisa's complete shock, he began walking directly toward her, ignoring the outstretched hands and expectant faces of Patricia and the other parents who had positioned themselves near the entrance. "I'm sorry I'm late, sweetheart," he said as he reached her, leaning down to kiss her cheek gently. The board meeting ran much longer than expected. The entire hall fell into stunned silence. Lisa's face went from confusion to recognition to pure joy as she realized what was happening. David, she exclaimed, throwing her arms around him. I thought you weren't getting back until tomorrow. I managed to catch an earlier flight, he said, holding her close. I wasn't going to miss supporting you at Amy's school event. Patricia's mouth had literally fallen open, and she wasn't the only one. Parents throughout the hall were staring in bewilderment, trying to process what they were witnessing. Mr. Peterson hurried over, his face flushed with excitement. Mr. Wang, this is such an incredible honor. I had no idea you were married to one of our parents. David turned to the principal with a polite smile. Please just call me David, and yes, Lisa and I have been married for 10 years. Our daughter Amy is in second grade here. Amy Chen is your daughter? Mr. Peterson's voice cracked slightly. Oh my goodness, we had no idea about the family connection. Lisa looked around the room and saw faces frozen in various states of shock, embarrassment, and dawning realization. Patricia looked like she might be sick. Lisa was just telling me about tonight's fundraising event. David continued conversationally. It sounds like it's been quite successful. Oh yes, absolutely, Mr. Peterson stammered. We've raised nearly $200,000 tonight, though of course that's nothing compared to your company's usual charitable contributions. Actually, David said, his arm still around Lisa's waist, I was hoping to make a personal donation tonight. Lisa mentioned that the school is working towards some important goals. Mr. Peterson nodded eagerly. Yes, we're raising funds for new technology, library resources, and our scholarship program. Wonderful, David said. I'd like to contribute $2 million to those efforts. The number hit the room like a physical force. Several parents gasped audibly, and Lisa saw one woman actually grab onto her husband's arm for support. Patricia had gone completely pale. But David wasn't finished. However, he continued, his voice taking on a slightly cooler tone, I want to make sure this donation goes to a school that truly values all of its families. Lisa was telling me about some of the conversations she's had tonight. Lisa looked up at her husband nervously. David, it's okay, let's not make a scene. No, sweetheart, he said gently but firmly. It's not okay. You work incredibly hard to give Amy the best opportunities, and no one has the right to make you feel unwelcome. He turned to address the crowd, his voice carrying easily across the silent hall. My wife is the most dedicated parent I know. She volunteers at the library where she works. She helps other children with reading difficulties, and she puts Amy's needs above everything else. The fact that some people here think her value as a parent has anything to do with her clothes or her job shows a fundamental misunderstanding of what really matters. Patricia finally found her voice. Mr. Wang, I think there's been a misunderstanding. We were simply discussing community involvement and… Were you? David interrupted calmly. Because from what I understand, you've spent the evening questioning whether my family belongs at this school. You've made comments about my wife's appearance, her job, and our financial situation. You've even suggested she should find a different school for our daughter. Patricia's face was now bright red. I was just trying to help her understand the expectations. The expectations? David's voice remained calm, but there was steel underneath. Let me tell you about expectations. I expect my daughter to attend a school where all families are treated with respect. I expect the parent community to support each other rather than tear each other down. And I expect adults to model the kind of behavior we want our children to learn. He paused, looking around the room at the sea of uncomfortable faces. My wife didn't tell you who I was because it doesn't matter. She's not here as the wife of a CEO. She's here as Amy's mother, which is the only qualification that should matter to anyone in this room. Rebecca stepped forward from the crowd. You're absolutely right, and I apologize for not speaking up sooner. Your wife was treated terribly tonight, and it was wrong. Thank you, David said with a nod. I appreciate that. Patricia was now looking desperate. Mr. Wang, I'm sure we can work this out. Perhaps we got off on the wrong foot. Patricia, David said quietly, you spent an entire evening trying to humiliate my wife because you thought she was an easy target. You took photos to share on social media. You tried to turn her into entertainment for your friends. That's not getting off on the wrong foot. That's bullying. The word bullying hung in the air, and Lisa could see several parents looking deeply uncomfortable as they recognized their own complicity in what had happened. Now, David continued, I'm still willing to make that donation to the school because I believe in supporting Amy's education. But I want to be very clear about something. He looked directly at Patricia and her group of friends. This school succeeds because of dedicated families who care about their children's futures. That includes families where both parents work multiple jobs to afford tuition. It includes single parents who sacrifice everything for their kids. It includes families who may not drive luxury cars or wear designer clothes, but who understand the true value of education. Mr. Peterson nodded enthusiastically. Absolutely, Mr. Wang. Riverside Academy values all of our families. I'm glad to hear that, David said, because moving forward I expect this community to live up to those values. My wife shouldn't have to prove her worth to anyone. None of our parents should. Lisa felt tears in her eyes, not from embarrassment this time, but from love and gratitude. David had defended not just her, but every parent who had ever felt out of place or unwelcome. As for the donation, David continued, I'll be working directly with Mr. Peterson to ensure the funds support programs that benefit all students, with special attention to the scholarship program. Every child deserves access to excellent education, regardless of their family's financial situation. Patricia made one last attempt to salvage the situation. Of course, Mr. Wang. We completely agree. And I hope Mrs. Wang knows that we welcome her contributions to our community. David looked at Patricia with calm eyes. My wife's name is Lisa, and she's been contributing to this community since the day Amy started here. The fact that you're only recognizing that now tells me everything I need to know. He turned back to Lisa, his expression softening completely. Ready to go home? I promised Amy I'd help her with her science project tonight. Lisa nodded, feeling lighter than she had all evening. Let's go. As they walked toward the exit, arm in arm, the crowd parted silently before them. At the door, David turned back, one final time. Thank you all for a very educational evening, he said with a slight smile. I look forward to many more positive interactions with this community. The door closed behind them, leaving a room full of parents to contemplate what had just happened and what it meant for the future of their exclusive little community.